Will Bitcoin see a continuation toward the upside, or are we going to see a short-term pullback? In today's video, we are answering these two questions and more in massive amounts of detail, leaving no stone unturned. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. In today's video, we are taking a look at Bitcoin's price action, discussing a critical question, and that is, will Bitcoin see a correction? If so, how low could it go? Or are we going to see a direct continuation upward? We'll also be taking a look at the total altcoin market cap, the Bitcoin charts on the higher timeframes, and briefly, the macro price action. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos of Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you were interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop with cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you were interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us in the VIP group. We have 666 members, and we post trading setups with exact entry prices, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. You'll also get access to all of our group chats, our general chat, our trading chat and education chat, our daily video help, news, and trade setup chat. I am in here daily, educating, talking, chatting, discussing, and of course, we are making profits in there as well. So check it out, guys. Join up by clicking the pinned comment in the free channel by clicking my name or these links. For more information, you can click the second one that will show you a video inside, and of course, the first one, our entire trading track record. Let's go ahead, guys, and jump on in. So as we can see, over the past 3 to 4 days, ever since we created the new all-time high at 93,000, we have seen Bitcoin more or less push back toward the downside. We have pushed back towards around 87, 88,000, reclaiming and retesting a critical area of support, which sits at that $86.2 to $87,000 region. With this downward move, we can see that although the price action is moving downwards, we are still actually holding above these prior higher lows. And with that move, we can see the momentum has been decreasing, showing us that we have a very classic example of what we would call a hidden bullish divergence. And this is simply suggestive of absorption. And what absorption really means is that although there has been selling going on, pushing that price action downwards, there is a lot of buying volume coming back in, absorbing that selling pressure. So even though we have seen the strength decrease as represented by the RSI, the price action itself has actually been able to hold above the prior higher low, which is a fantastic thing. It's a sign of strength and a good indication that we could actually see a short-term reversal upwards develop. But in today's video, we're discussing that as well as the possibility for a correction, where that would take us, and what would that kind of look like for the entire cryptocurrency market. So there's a lot to talk about, and we'll jump into it. We'll move over to the market data to start off with. So 24-hour volume down 7%, sitting at 459 billion. Liquidations down 0.5 at 863 billion. Of the 863 billion in liquidation, sorry, that is an incorrect number. Let's go and refresh the page. 498 million in liquidation, sorry, 334 million of those have come from long positions, as Bitcoin, of course, drops back into these liquidation pockets, these prior liquidity areas, these prior sell-side liquidities where a lot of stop losses are actually built up in. And of course, we have seen short liquidations total an amount of around 155 million. That mostly comes from these short-term impulses upwards before we see these corrections, people jumping into late shorts on and after these large pullbacks. So we are seeing a fair bit of chop happening. This is downward chop, but again, we are still seeing that absorption develop, which is a great thing for Bitcoin's price action, especially seeing that at these higher levels. Moving over to the DXY has broken upwards of that trend line, and it has now reached that critical 1 year long resistance. Now, This is going to be a pivotal point for the DXY, as this is going to mark whether or not we're going to see a correction and reversal. And if we do, that is fantastic for risk assets. And if we do not see that and we instead see a continuation, this is going to be a very worrisome sign. So we do want to see the DXY reject from here, and if we are able to actually break through, it is likely the dollar is going to continue to gain value and maybe even push back upwards to these August 2022 highs. Until then, resistance is resistance until it is not. And what we have seen realistically over here is we have seen a horizontal range really develop. So we are in this massive nearly 2-year long horizontal range, and we are looking for potentially one more move to retest the high before corrections toward the downside. Moving over to the S&P 500, it is actually dropping back below the 6,000 mark. Again, that is kind of expected as the DXY is moving upwards. So we are seeing a little bit of weakness over here on the DXY. Now with that, we could also see we have some bearish divergences develop. We had a bearish divergence over here, and now we have a second bearish divergence developing. Now we can see the angle of these bearish divergences are increasing, meaning the exhaustion is actually also increasing with the price trend. This is not a fantastic sign. It is definitely not enough to suggest that the S&P 500 is going to correct, but it is something we have to be considerate of. If we do see these RSI break back through, that will be indication that the negative momentum or developing negative momentum has been absorbed and the price action will continue higher. Until then, we are optimistic, but we are aware there is a risk of a correction back towards these weekly highs. Now, if we drop below these weekly highs, that is going to be a horrible sign, and we will actually enter a official high time frame downtrend, dropping below that weekly high, as that will be the first instance during this entire period since we broke out in May 2023 that a prior higher high has been invalidated. None of these levels have been invalidated until we break below here. That is it, guys. Let's jump into our analysis. A quick word from today's video sponsor. If you are interested in 15% off all your trading fees, now that 15% can build up to 45%. Now that is a huge amount. Do not underestimate how that can help you. You can sign up to the links down below to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX. All of those exchanges, you'll get that discount using my links. And again, you'll help me support the channel making these videos. And of course, you'll support yourself in your trading journey. Go ahead and sign up, guys, and we'll jump back into the video. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get stuck in, and we're going to keep today's video short and snappy, and we're starting on the total 3 market cap, discussing altcoins, as over the past 24 hours we have seen some altcoins drop 10-15%, and I bet a lot of people are wondering what is happening with altcoins. You know, are we going to see continuations? How is the altcoin market looking? So let's just go ahead straight off the bat and get into that. So altcoins are still looking good, and I've said this already. We have been bullish on the total 3 since we broke out of this horizontal range. This is where we said altcoins will start to gain strength. We will gain strength up into our March highs, and we will continue that until our 848.50 billion resistance. Now, we have 2 pivotal resistance points. Number 1, our March high, and number 2, our yearly resistance. A break above yearly resistance, we enter a parabolic phase. So if you want to be the most confident on your altcoin bets, we need to break above 850 billion, 840 billion to see the parabolic phase. If that happens, nearly every single altcoin should rally very aggressively. But on the short term, what we can see, we are sitting under that region. So we do still have the risk of corrections. We do still have the risk of invalidations for the parabolic phase for altcoins. And we're not out of the woods yet. We're looking very good, but we're not out of the woods. We have to make sure we are very much aware of that. On the short-term price action, we can see we are struggling with the prior April-March 2024 high for altcoins. This was a resistance point, which is always going to be a pivotal point, all of these horizontal regions. At the moment, I would only be personally concerned for altcoins if we see the price action drop back below these highs. These highs line up with our diagonal trend line, which again takes the prior all-time highs of both of these peaks to the diagonal point, which matches around 600 to 700 billion. If we drop below here, we run the risk of correcting back into these highs. And if we lose this level, well, that is when I would say I think the altcoin phase is pretty much wrecked. Okay, so that would be essentially that we've had this mass consolidation, because we have to understand what it means more so than what it is. We would have this mass consolidation lasting 6 months, okay, where altcoins were finding their bottoms, money was flowing around, we were finding some stability. We then saw a breakout of that range. We attempted to continue higher, and then we got squandered and squashed back into the range. And that would simply suggest that there really is no demand, or not enough demand, for the altcoin market at the moment, and the price action is likely or unlikely to follow up into these range highs. So in my opinion, altcoins are solid, altcoins are decent until we break back below here. Until then, I'm expecting eventual continuations into the parabolic phase, provided we see a traditional cycle play out. Now, altcoins have kind of got wrecked in the last 24 hours a little bit because we have seen Bitcoin dominance continue upwards, but Bitcoin dominance is now approaching what I would consider another key level of resistance. Now, the first key level of resistance was going to be this low right over here, which we broke through a very long time ago. We are now approaching the next key level of resistance, which is around now 62.85 to 61% region. This is ideally where I would like to see Bitcoin dominance drop. We really want to see Bitcoin dominance start to drop around this phase of the cycle to see money begin to rotate into altcoins. And that generally needs to happen within the next few months. So we do want to see a rejection from here. And again, altcoins will need to see a Bitcoin dominance breakdown of that trend line to really see that parabolic rotation. So my quick answer to everything, are altcoins looking terrible? No, they are looking good. A lot of altcoins are looking pretty solid. There are always some altcoins are looking bad. Every altcoin performs differently. Overall, the total 3 is looking solid. It is not looking amazing. We're not in the parabolic phase yet. And we do have some key structural supports below us, which can act as invalidation. So overall, it is looking pretty decent. Let's move over to Bitcoin. So we talked briefly in the introduction about Bitcoin showing signs of bullish absorption and how that is a good thing. Let's first talk about, well, exactly what we're looking at in terms of our diagonal levels and our trends, and then we'll go to our horizontals and we'll go to the technicals. So there are 2 key levels we are really watching in terms of our trends. The first one is going to be this uptrending trend line, which has spanned back since the 5th of November. We've retested for a second time on the 10th of November, and we have not retested it for a third time yet. This is going to essentially represent the trajectory of price action since the 10th, okay? Since that bottom point, we have been in this aggressive uptrend. This is a very steep trend, by the way. So I would like to see this trend hold. And again, we can go back to the common saying, the trend is your friend until it ends, and only upon the ending of the trend would we shift our bias toward the downside. So while we are sitting above this trend, we are looking more toward the upside, we are looking more toward long positions than we are short positions, and we are more remaining bullish on the short term even than we are expecting breakdowns. We can also see now with that, we have our horizontal levels that can support it. We've got this liquidity pocket around 86,200, which if we drag out for another couple hours, it eventually lines up with that diagonal trend line. So this is essentially going to be the critical area of support, which we need to hold. And if we drop below this level, this horizontal level, the probabilities of us then dropping below this trend line become significantly greater. So you can almost say this is kind of that last line of support right over here before we do enter a first little downtrend that we've been ever since we've been in the uptrend since November 5th. So this is a pretty pivotal point for Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to see that move downwards, especially with what we're going to tell you in a second. But if we do see that loss of that level, the probabilities for a correction back into that $82,000 region becomes a reality. Right now, it is not a reality, it is a possibility. But if we do break below that level, it becomes a real reality. So if we take a look over here, guys, we can see, like we mentioned in the intro, we do have a very decent higher low. We've got an uptrend in the price action right over here, and we've got a downtrend on the RSI. This is suggestive of absorption. Now, we do have to be realistic for a second and understand that we are in a downtrend, and the downtrend is going to be represented by this diagonal trend line. So until this diagonal trend line breaks toward the upside, we're not expecting moves to new highs. Now, if we do break this trend line, we are then expecting moves back into these high points. That is 100% going to happen. Well, 100% going to happen, you know what I mean. Figure of speech, it is highly likely going to happen. If we break the trend line, it is highly likely we'll see swings back into these high points. Now, if we take a look at the RSI, we have got the respective downtrend on the RSI matching the highs of the price trend. So this is going to be a representation of the momentum during the time of which Bitcoin has been in the downtrend represented by the diagonal trend line. And therefore, we can see if this RSI is able to break upwards, the probabilities of the price action coming up to retest this trend line and thus even break through the trend line significantly increases. So although the price action is not at an apex point yet, an apex point meaning the crossover point of two trends, the RSI is at an apex point. It is coming to a decision where it's going to either flip positive or invalidate the absorption, and then the bears are going to take over, pushing the price down. So we're watching very closely on the RSI, because RSI breakup would signify the absorption we are seeing over here from buying pressure, buying up, the selling pressure, which is essentially what's happening, okay? We're seeing that occur as per the absorption, as per the RSI, as per our hidden bullish divergence. If we see the breakout, that would signify the absorption has been successful, the bears are now exhausted, and the price action should continue in hands of the bulls. But if we see the RSI invalidate and break downwards, that would result in a breakdown of this level, suggesting that there was not enough buying demand as in comparison to selling pressure at these price points. The price was unable to sustain these highs, and we are going to move back into lower levels of liquidity to find new demand and new support. So, a very pivotal point. What do I think is going to happen? I think at the moment, there is a greater probability we see a continuation upwards, simply as because the momentum is suggestive of that, but it is not a confirmed probability yet. Or should I say, the upward move is not confirmed yet, as we haven't actually seen the positive momentum shift. We are just seeing it starting to develop. So until we see that happen, the probabilities are more towards the end of 50-50, not exactly 50-50. It is still slightly more leaning toward the upside continuation, but we need to see the confirmation of that. The buyers are back in control to see that price action push upwards. Overall, I am expecting a bounce, and I'm expecting a bounce while this horizontal low holds, while the diagonal holds. And again, my eventual expectation is that we move to a new high. Now, if we drop below this horizontal, the very, very obvious answer would be we have got very critical horizontal supports below. You can see them mapped out. We've also got these we've also got these VRPV gaps over here, which we will likely come and fill. And these are points where new support can be established. So support can often be created. We don't have to just look at horizontal levels. We can find volume gaps and assume where support could potentially be created. So worst case scenario, we could see a correction and either bounce this 82 or create new support 83, 84. But I don't think that's going to happen, guys. I'm hedging toward the upside. That is it for today's video, guys. I hope you had a fantastic time viewing. I hope you learned something, and I'll catch you guys in the next video on Sunday. See you then.